Persona 4, released on July 10th, 2008, and developed by Kazura Hashino, Atoshi Watanabe, and Azusa Kido, is a beloved RPG by RPG fans and gamers. That's all basic information. You're here to learn about how it implements insistent invocations and interpolation. So let's go. Now, to understand what I'm talking about, let's explain what these ideas are. Interpolation is an idea proposed by Luis Althusser. In La Pense from 1970, it details that cultures, or in this case, game developers, use methods called ideological state apparatuses to push ideals, beliefs, and a way in life onto people in lower classes. In this case, the lower classes would be the players. Insistent invocations, on the other hand, are methods proposed by Judd Ruggles and Ken McAllister in their Gaming Matters, Art, Science, Magic, and the Computer Game Medium book. These methods involve a game or the developer constantly pushing mechanics, ideas, or story elements onto the player to entrench them into the game and its ideals, making you believe in the magic of the game more. Now that I've detailed over these, let's get into how Persona 4 uses these, but just before that, spoiler warning, for those who haven't played before, so if so, I would advise to click off. Anyways, let's get into it. One of the main and iconic parts of Persona 4 and the modern series overall is the social link mechanic. First being made in Persona 3, the social link mechanic was evolved to become better than it previously was, with it including the male party members and a lot more options outside school as well. The game makes sure that the players definitely know about this mechanic, through the unnatural icons detailing that they're able to hang out with, and easily accessible locations. The developers are effectively begging for you to hang out with them, over a majority of the other mechanics. This is for a reason, as it allows for the players to feel more connected to the game. As such, the more times the game insists for you to go out with one or multiple people, it makes it more likely you would hang out with them, causing you to fall into the developer's trap, and being interpolated into wanting to help the characters within the game. Not only that, but outside interpolation directly affects the character dynamics and how the players might interact with them. For instance, Shigenori Sojima, the lead art director for Persona 4, when designing Yosuke for the game, said in an interview, in particular, "I gave him accessories such as headphones and a bicycle, to make it more obvious that he was from the city." Using these stereotypes and overall observations from the people surrounding him, Sojima designed Yosuke to be relatable towards those from the city and also those adapting to a new environment, such as moving. Something that Hashino wanted to emphasize, that being the relatableness of each character, so everyone who did play Persona 4 was able to find someone to directly relate to and really get invested into the story, henceforth the world of the game itself. Another way the developers use these techniques is to make those who have previously played the games become more invested into the world. Persona 4 uses effectively the trip to Gekkoukan High. This provides a sense of those who have played Persona 3 of, "I remember this place. What's this place doing in my new game?" Therefore, allowing them to feel more interest in the world, not as a player, but a person within the world. Thus, using the memory characteristic of the game for not just playing a character, but playing a character for themselves. Hence, the repeated instances of Gekkoukan High allows for not only older fans to reminisce and feel like the world really is connected, but it also allows for newer players to feel like the game isn't one isolated place, but a fleshed out world with different places and cultures, such as the many different places outside of Narva you can visit, interpolating the player into the eyes of the character. Now this is the last warning for spoilers. If you missed the last one, alright, let's go. Adachi being the murderer does come as a surprise to those who did play the game. And to that, it should be no surprise that it was the developers' intentions. Adachi throughout the game is seen to be as an outcast compared to the rest of the police. And as spoken by Hashino, he started to worry that he would stand out to the players. So in turn, he was seen to be a goofy, but a reliable source of information to progress the story. Someone that was seen as incapable of doing the killings, due to his incompetence as a police officer. However, this was planned by the developers for the players to interpolate this idea into the player through the constant and insisting ideas of this clumsy and lazy Adachi. It makes the player feel like they can trust him, despite the hints that the developers give towards him potentially being the killer. Now finally, as you know, the true final boss of Persona 4 is Izanami. However, the way to find this out is quite hard to know on a first playthrough. This has changed in the remaster, Persona 4 Golden, to be more obvious. However, the way that the developers intended to find this is still intact. The messaging of the game, being finding the truth, is constantly shown throughout the game, especially being emphasized with the battle song, Reach Out to the Truth, and it is depicted through the fog in the TV world and the real world. That being quite literally a metaphor for the interpolation that society brings upon people. However, once defeating Abuna Sagiri, one of the final bosses of the game, the fog disappears in the real world, telling the player that people's true selves have been shown, and the impending doom has gone, hinting that they managed to have society face the truth. However, Abuna Sagiri specifically says the place you return to, hinting at the fog really hasn't been lifted from society, as the TV world is the physical manifestation of society's desires and the truth, really telling the player that the game society hasn't been able to face the truth. Through the insistent messaging of finding the truth, the player is aimed to see that it hasn't been truly found, and that the fog hasn't truly lifted in the game, thus interpolating the player into feelings of unease, when not every plotline of the game has truly been solved, especially how the TV world was created, something still not explained despite being the final boss? Now, to recap. Insistent invocations being repeatedly pushing mechanics, ideas, or story elements onto the player, such as the way the social mechanic is, and interpolation being pushing ideals, beliefs, and a way of life onto people in lower classes. Like Adachi's character interpretation, I use constantly for Persona 4. So the next time you play a game like Kingdom Hearts or Metaphor ReFantazio, think of how it uses interpolation to push you to play it a certain way, or how it may use insistent invocations to make you feel like you're invested and a part of the game. Similar to the way Persona 4 uses these to get you, your friends, and the people around the world hooked. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.